Tuberville. So Jeff Sessions off to pasture. The people of Alabama don't want to.
I'm with Jimmy Lakey here. Here we go.
I want to go to Steve Laffey here, who's with me every Wednesday in this hump day edition of the show for some commentary and conversation. But the couple in St. Louis who were defended, who have had their guns taken away and may be indicted now by the St. Louis government because they defended their property. Remember that couple? He was on one of the shows last night. I was fast forwarding through. It was either Tucker Carlson or the Hannity program. I think it was Hannity, and he said that after their guns got taken, some people showed up to defend their property, and from what they know, it came from President Trump. Someone that they don't know who, but the federales sent someone into that neighborhood after they found that the couple had their guns taken away and defended the couple's home. And he just said he wanted to thank. He says it came from the very top. That's all they'd say. I don't know who it should have been explored in questions, but it wasn't. It was just kind of a passing comment. He wanted to thank people from the very top for sending in the security team that defended the neighborhood. After all the bad guys knew their guns were gone, they all came back in, and they were met with some surprise security. I'm not sure if it's military, National Guard. It almost sounded like private security forces, but he says they were sent from the very top. And they're very thankful. So, interesting. All right, ladies and gentlemen, on the Wednesday edition of the show, Hump Day, halfway to Friday, we welcome in the comments of Laffey. STAGFLATION.com is his website, SteveLaffey.com. Steve?
Good morning, Jimmy. It's so great to be with you. Your comment about sending the couple of people in, I'm glad the president or somebody did that for the couple in St. Louis. The poor lady operating a inoperable gun gets taken away. What are they going to do to her? Waving around a gun, it doesn't work. But... it just seems like we do these things after the fact, right? So if I were the president, a month ago, we should have 2 National Guard fully armed people at every single statue in America. Boom, done. 2 of them, 3 of them, everyone. I'm not talking about federal statue. Every statue. Let people know we're not doing this. But of course, we'll wait till after the fact, like we waited for China to get so strong that we decided to finally take some action. But anyway, keep going. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Let me dive here. I want to kind of go in order here. I'm amazed that you live in Colorado. I live in Colorado. And we have a governor who, on one hand, calls us selfish bastards. He says we're complacent by not wearing masks. We wear more masks in most places, more in public now than a month ago. The numbers are still going up. So his data is being proven false. This governor seems to be a little bit out of control. He last week looked at the camera and said, wear your damn mask. And where I go, Steve, most people are wearing masks. There's outliers like myself that choose the situations to not wear one, but I think people are being very compliant, and this governor just seems to be filled with rage or hate or something, some kind of a contempt for the people of Colorado. Give me your thoughts.
He does, and the governor of Colorado, like many Democratic governors, have total contempt for the people that they want to control, not the people that they are supposed to serve. It doesn't matter whether you're the governor of Rhode Island, the governor of, name the state where the Democrat runs it, right? They want to be in total control, and they are the people that you don't want around running any kind of troops during a Melee massacre. They're really, really people who got into politics so they control other people and they know what's better for you. These people generally fail when we just totally ignore them and actually let them make complete fools of themselves. And that's what we should be doing with this governor. We should laugh when we see him. We should just. No one's getting arrested. The thought process that police are going to pull people over, 7 people wandering together, which I see all the time. No one with masks. Kids. Are kids being put in what we call paddy wagons and taken down? Imagine a lawsuit when someone catches it from a cop. Can you imagine what happens when that happens, Jimmy? So the best way to deal with Governor Polis and all these other people is to laugh and wave and just, hey, and they will fail, I think, the way, the Soviet Union failed when they became so ridiculous, right? And that's in one way, we got to be tough with China, but that's how the people of China need to deal with the leaders of China. All these totalitarian bent people, like Governor Polis and Communist leader Xi, all want your control. We've got to get guns. We've got to all be ready to use them. But in the meantime, with Governor Polis, we just have to laugh him off and wave at him. When I'm at Rocky National Park on Friday, there'll be some young couple walking down a path. There'll be nobody there. They'll have masks on. I'll double over with laughter with my kids, and they'll just keep going.
Yeah, it is interesting to see. He's we're being complacent, and I'm thinking the problem is we're not being complacent. People are being compliant, not complacent, and yet it still doesn't make this guy happy. It makes me wonder what's deep inside of his heart or in his mind, because the guy seems to be a little bit unhinged as of late, and I'm laughing at him, but I'm just thinking, dear goodness, this guy's a little bit out of control.
And we've broken down, Jimmy, into two systems here. We've got, rather than the right thing to do that I said at the very beginning with you in February, America, remember, America never shuts down. Everybody take care of your problem. Everybody go to work. Nothing closes down. This is America. They played the World Series in 1943. Here we go. Instead, it's now the compliant, half defiant, the country still splitting up, sending checks out willy-nilly, the corrupt PPP program with Kanye West getting $3 million, even though he has $2 billion. He gets $28,000 per employee. Law firms, hedge funds, everybody involved in it, and we just keep going on, and now they're going to do something else. The whole thing is broken down to the point where the first reaction by the federal government is, here's what we're going to do for you. And the first reaction should be, what are you doing for yourself? I'll give you an example. Betsy DeVos. Why is the president, Betsy DeVos, talking about going back to school or not going back to school? What's it their business? They do federal policy. Whether Poudre Valley School District, whatever, reopens is a local decision. Why are they even, who cares? Who cares if they reopen? I couldn't care less if any school ever reopened, you know? But some people probably do. But why is the federal government involved in every single thing, Jimmy? It has to stop. And it has to stop from this president.
It seems as if, and you sent me a news story about this, that inflation is coming back. You've talked about this for a long time. It seems as if our politicians ought to be paying more attention to fiscal policy. Let's talk about inflation. How's that going to affect people on Main Street if it continues the direction it's going?
Well, it's going to continue the direction it's going simply because we took, for example, this year in 9 months, we've spent $5 trillion. The deficit year over year is $3 trillion. It makes Obama look like a small potatoes. And so the Federal Reserve is now finally monetizing, unlike the 08 and 09 thing. And so I remind people this one equation, you can type it in on Google, MV equals PQ. And the money supply, which, by the way, in the 70s, every Thursday afternoon when I was a teenager, someone reporting on the money supply, up 12% year over year. Whoa! M1, M2, people knew the definitions of M1, M2, M3. These are different money supply figures. Nobody in the country knows what I'm talking about now. As I told you 2 months ago, within a year, everybody will look at it again, because if you look at the numbers last week, money supply up 42% year over year. Never been done since, might have been done by the Confederates. I guess we can't talk about them anymore, right? Might have been done by the Confederates back in the Civil War. The phrase "not worth a Confederate" came about because they lost the war. But this is happening right now. And so gold's at its high, silver's going up, copper's surging, commodities are going up. The inflation last month was up at 0.6%, which, and here's the Federal Reserve people saying, well, at least we don't have to worry about deflation now. No, this is called stagflation, folks. It's here, it's coming, it's because the Fed is allowing the banks, because of their 11 new illegal programs, people can't even know what they are. The buying of corporate bonds, the corruption of BlackRock, the biggest bond purchaser, doing it for the Fed. We could go on all day about the Fed's new programs, but all of them allow the money supply to keep going and be put into the velocity. So money supply up, you have to take the velocity down 42% to get PQ meaning the nominal GDP of America, to stay the same. So while we're in this period where it's transitioning, you don't see it the way you will, but it's coming. And in fact, I watched Jim Grant, who's a very famous guy in interest rates, ask the question where Jimmy's asked, hey, next year inflation's running at 6% and the unemployment's at 8%. Does the Fed raise rates? And he says, no, not this Fed. So they are so far behind the 8 ball. And remember, everybody will like what the Fed's doing, and the market will like what the Fed's doing until one day they don't. And when these things turn, they turn on a dime. And it's I don't know when, but we're much closer. If you watch my movie, we're much closer to the ultimate disaster. And now it's a likely real thing rather than something that could happen.
Voice of Steve Laffey. Steve, another topic you've been out there talking about your movie. You talked about it extensively, Fixing America, the movie. United States, a couple of months ago, about a year ago, was telling the UK to stop using Huawei, the Chinese company, for their 5G, and the United Kingdom was still going to use Huawei or Hua, however you want to say it, and now the UK has shifted and said, oh, never mind, we're not going to use the Chinese because of security issues. Give me your thoughts. Is this a good thing, bad thing, a little bit too little, too late by the UK?
Well, it's a very good thing that the United Kingdom has woken up to the problems of communist China and not allowing Huawei or Weiwa, or whatever they call themselves, this giant conglomerate that is really the communist Chinese government. Remember, every Chinese government is run by state communism in China. They do whatever the state says to do. So if they say put these things in the computers and spy on America, they will. They say put them in the computer and we'll take down their systems when we want to. They do. And so finally the United Kingdom is getting religion on it. And it seems as though, listen, the solutions I've talked about for 15 years regarding communist China were simple. They could have been done and China would not be aiming to be the world superpower. We can still collapse communist China by stopping trade with them now. Stop all trade with communist China. The president 2 years ago said, everybody get out of China. Remember, we talked about this. He just didn't put it into law. Nobody did anything about it. But listen, Japan has gotten it. They are building up their military. Their submarines are becoming much more capable. The fact that South Korea is even picking up on it. Australia is finally figured it out. What we need is a giant coalition against communist China, and what we really do need is to bring Russia back into the fold with America. They're much more likely to be with America, just based on their religion, the fact that they're not godless people in Russia, whereas the godless people who run communist China, they want that. Well, eventually Russia will realize, much like Germany, they'll look over at Russia and say, we need your oil, and they'll go after Russia through that long border. So people are beginning to wake up finally. Listen, people always wake up when it's like the last breath before they die to get up and just like start fighting before someone kills them. America's not quite there yet, so thankfully the president has done some things about it. He just needs to go 100 miles an hour. In fact, in order to win the election, he needs to be so much tougher on communist China than he is now and stop this sort of pacifist stuff. It will help him win the election.
The voice of Steve Laffey, his website, STAGFLATION.com. Steve, I'm looking here. I'm checking my text messages now, and I see you've decided that you're going to get in the name game for the Washington Redskins. I had somebody say the Washington Swamp. You think maybe the Washington Wimps would be a better name?
I sent you the Washington Wimps, the Washington budget deficits, the Washington Wastefuls. There's a lot of names we could have for the city of Washington, D.C., right? If we don't want to do historical stuff because we can't say Lincoln. Whoa, you said Lincoln! We can't say Washington. We can't. How can you even say Washington, by the way? How can it be the Washington anything? How about just the budget deficit? How about the elites? How about just the team it's called We Hate the Rest of the Country? That would be a good name. There's lots of names. We hate you. But they can't start with Washington, can they? Isn't that illegal? You can't start by saying Washington.
His profile because he has contempt for the people that he serves. Let me ask you, as we head in towards election season, we head into re-election season, we're about 110 days away, 112 days away from the election. Joe Biden still has not ventured very far out of his basement. He's into Pennsylvania and Ohio. You think President Trump needs to step it up on China a little bit messaging? This seems to be still a wide-open election because it's so non-traditional how we're fighting it right now. Give me your last-minute thoughts here on this election.
Well, if the election for president was held today, the president would lose. But it doesn't mean he has to lose. He has to run the table on these, what's called 10 states now that he's down by about 3 percentage points. Really look at the London bookie makers, and it was that he was down, like 68-32 in the London. Now it's like 60-40. So that just reflects today. Remember, that's just today. The president can win this election. I will tell you this: if he wins, he will still have a Democrat-controlled House, and I'm telling you right now, I'm 99% sure he'll have a Democratically controlled Senate. it will be one heck of a thing to watch the president, who I think generally will become much more of a Democrat under those scenarios, because he is actually more of a Democrat than a Republican. Look at the budget deficit. Look at these things that are going on. In fact, most Republicans are actually Democrats. But he can do it. He just has to step up the game, and not about attacking. About we said it last week. He has to have a succinct message. Forget the rallies. Forget this. A succinct message of why he needs a second term. And until he comes up with what I did running for re-election as mayor, right? It's a tough deal. Remember, he has to run the table on about 10 states that he's losing in all of them. From Arizona, forget about Michigan, and he has to, these 3 states that I always talk about, that I said in 2015 he would win, Jimmy. 2015, not 2016. I said to you, I have the tapes, he would win. These are very difficult now because of what's happening within the country. So his program to stay out, he just needs to stay out of the way of some of these things that cost him votes, and go on the move on things that people now really realize has happened. China has to be the villain, Jimmy. From here until election day for the president, he's got to up the tariffs. Remember, China has done nothing about the trade one deal. They're not obeying it. They're not in alliance with it. They are violating all around the country everything they can. Espionage, stealing secrets. How can the president not delist every single Chinese company that's listed in America? He has to. He has to do this stuff. Get them. Let's collapse their economy. Once we collapse their economy, I believe that people will understand that this is finally turning, and he can win the election. But right now, it looks pretty bleak, Jimmy.
STAGFLATION.com, Laffey, STAGFLATION.com. That's his website. Go check it out. You can find his book, Primary Mistake. Information about the movie Fixing America. Again, STAGFLATION.com, Laffey.
Thank you, Jimmy.
All right, everybody, we got to take a break.
Anyway, thanks so much. Those are the thoughts of the day, and we didn't really get to talk about a couple of these other issues. But one last thing about these schools, and I just want to be in the record again for the 100th time. In February, I said that all the schools should stay open. In fact, I said, and I'll say again, that if anybody had any brains running one of the public universities, they would have said, not only are the kids not coming home, we're keeping them all summer long, and we're charging you more. Instead, these left-wing people who run it, who can't run a lemonade stand, have destroyed their business model. What we didn't mention today in the show is it came out about University of Wyoming, a place that I love, where my son has just graduated from 2 advanced degrees, my second oldest. 20% of the people aren't going back. This breaks the budget for Wyoming, and if it breaks the budget for Wyoming, it's going to break the budget for Colorado State University, University of Colorado, and just spread out along the way. Smaller, really rich schools can do whatever they want. My alma mater, Bowdoin College, has 350 kids in a class or whatever. They couldn't care less. They could stop school for a year. But for many parents and many people, the realization of what they've been spending money on is here, and that's not, that change of mindset is now permanent. So the ability of people who really are terrible, whether it's airline CEOs, banks, universities, all the water has receded, and they literally are sitting there as 400-pound naked men on the beach. It's a really ugly scene. Anyway, who thought it would be that bad? God bless. We'll talk soon.